Alright, and they're off. It's like John Carl's having a little trouble starting the timer. That's okay. We'll just count in our head. Make sure it's all good. So the start of this race, pretty straightforward escape sequence. Not a whole lot going on in terms of speed tech, just kind of moving through the game well. They'll pick up the sword from Uncle, we'll grab a boomerang, a torch, that kind of stuff. Just real basic stuff throughout the first few minutes. So we'll kind of talk about our different runners here and kind of how their tournaments are going so far. Linkorange was the winner of Group AD. He went 3-0 in his group, so very strong showing from him. Meanwhile, over in Group K, we have John Carls, who went 2-1 in his bracket, or in his group, so... I know John Carls said he probably wasn't too thrilled with his race times, hoping to do a little better here in the bracket stages. We'll see how well he can do there. So a little bit of tech in that room, trying to push that blue guard with the key over towards the door so you can grab it and move in right away. Looks like we've got game audio now. So our runner's electing to pick up the boomerang in this chest. One nice thing about picking the boomerang up here is that it goes straight into your inventory. You don't have to menu to it, and it allows you to use it to grab that key really quickly and move on. They'll also be using it here in this next room after the ball and chain guard to pick up the boss key right away. The torch is in, I think, 3 or 4 different chests throughout the beginning of the game. The fastest one to grab is the one that's right next to Zelda, basically your last effort here. As we see Link with a nice kill there. John Carl's going with the pot strats, but also works out well. And there he picks up the torch, and they're both talking to Zelda. So another reason picking up the torch there is fastest. Obviously, it's right there next to Zelda where you're going anyways. But it also allows you to have your boomerang as that first item you pick up, so you don't have to menu to it. And it also gives you a little bit of a boost to get to Zelda just like a tiny bit faster. So all in all, just a better option to pick up the torch in that chest as opposed to some of the earlier ones that it's stored in. So now our runners will be taking Zelda up towards the throne room in order to get into the sewers and finish off the escape. Yes, this is no major glitches, so they know where all the items are in this one. So if you're skipping any chests, don't worry about it, it's intended. Well, at least hopefully they don't skip any intended chests. Really about the only tech you'll see from here on out is just kind of reacting to enemies and the patterns they give you. Moving diagonally is just a slight bit faster than moving straight cardinally, just that kind of stuff. Just really little movement things that do add up over the course of the run, but shouldn't be anything crazy in terms of separation. A little bit of a gross pattern on the ropes there for Linkorange. John Carls with a nice pattern, gets through there cleanly. both runners at 1.5 hearts as they move into the second half of the sewers. Probably not a big deal. Anything from here on out will just deal a quarter heart of damage, and hopefully shouldn't take any more damage. We'll see how they deal with the key rat luck here. It's like Linkorange got some pretty good RNG. johncarls also some good RNG. Basically, as long as that key rat doesn't run up to that corner, he'll be doing all right. So johncarls has had some really good movement, really good reactions to luck. He's actually closed a little bit of that gap that Linkorange had at ball and chain guard. He's actually taken just a slight little lead here. But this is NMG. Things change very rapidly. I'm looking like they're both at about a 6-minute escape. We have a timer up for johncarls now. I think he maybe started a timer at 6 minutes to kind of give us an idea of where he's at. But looking like it's lining up pretty closely with Linkorange's, so I think that's pretty accurate. We can go with that. I'm guessing both of our runners will be picking up Sank Heart, and they do. Gives you 1 extra heart container to work with. Also gives you a nice little refill. Health for the next couple minutes is a little bit important, as they'll be doing a double damage boost later on in Eastern Palace. So you do want to keep your health topped up. So going in with a full 4 hearts as opposed to the 1.5 that they both at, it's going to give them a little easier time. Yeah, johncarls must have been counting in his head up to 6 minutes, or maybe he just knew. Like he's like, that's a 6-minute escape if I've ever seen one in my life, and just started that timer right when he needed to. So looks like we should have a pretty accurate timer for both of our runners now. johncarls opting to grab that 5 rupees. Money is a little bit important early on in the run, but usually it isn't too crazy. But picking up that 5 rupees could help him out a little bit later on. We also see one little thing that's kind of neat is using the boomerang as opposed to the sword, especially on that little Armos guy that comes charging at you. It's actually a lot faster to use that boomerang, as it not only it's faster to throw your boomerang than it is to swing your sword. But stopping the Armos Knight with the boomerang means you reduce a little bit of the lag on that screen as well. So little tiny optimizations here and there as they start to move through Eastern. We'll see one of probably the most important early tricks here in the Stalfos room. We'll see Linkorange pick up a pot, turn it a very specific spot, throw it to the right, and throw another pot down. And what that does is it actually makes it so that only 2 of the 4 Stalfos in the room spawn and kills them very quickly. johncarls having a little bit of trouble with it, but does only have to deal with 2 Stalfos, so that's okay. Really, where you see a lot of trouble is where you start spawning a 3rd or even a 4th Stalfos and have to deal with all of them in the room. So now we'll be coming up on that aforementioned double damage boost here to get to the boss key. Normally this room that Linkorange is about to enter, what they want you to do is kill all the enemies in it. Obviously that takes a lot of time, but what you can do is take a damage boost, use the iframes to grab the pot and stand on the switch, take another damage boost to get out of there and pick up the boss key. Very nicely done there by Linkorange. There's a little bit of a faster strat by taking a damage boost off the Popo, but it's a little bit RNG based. You kind of have to react to luck, and it can be a little tricky. As you see, johncarls is taking 2 damage from the anti-fairies to do it. Also works just as well. And now they're picking up some arrows here. Arrow count is something that's important basically throughout the entirety of the run. You always want to have, you know, a good amount of arrows because there's strats in just about every dungeon for using arrows. So they'll be using them here, especially here in the first boss, the Armos Knights. Much faster to kill them with arrows, so they'll be picking up certain pots in order to get their arrow count up to, or as close as they can to full. Johncarls just missing that little switch there, but luckily doesn't take any damage from the Igors. Health isn't too big of a deal, other than that ballroom really is the one spot that you can get tripped up if you're a solid player like all of these guys are. See Linkorange moving into the Armos fight now, setting up in a specific spot and firing arrows in order to set it up so that he can kill all 6 basically at once. If you don't kill the very last one, after a little bit it'll go enraged, refill its health, and actually start to charge at you. So it's faster to get it down to almost dead and then kill both of the last 2 at the same time. So we see Johncarls just missed that little window there. His first 5 arrows weren't exactly how he wanted them, and does get that refill. So costs you a few extra arrows and a little bit of time. So we see Linkorange with a slight lead coming out of Eastern, but Johncarls nipping at his heels. So now Linkorange is talking to Sahasrahla. He's going to be picking up the boots, one of the most important items in the game in terms of speed tech. Nothing exactly that the boots does saves you a ton of time, but there's just a lot of little tiny time saves that they actually give you throughout the game. And we see Linkorange turning around right away. There is an option there to bomb the little area behind Sahasrahla, pick up some arrows and some bombs. But the fastest route is to avoid those and pick up rupees a little later. And we see Johncarls also skipping that option. So the first trick here, talking with boots, is called spin speed. Both of our runners are playing on the Japanese 1.0 version, which has a glitch that if you charge up a spin on your sword and press dash the very next frame after releasing the spin, it puts Link in kind of a weird glitch state. And walking completely perpendicular off of stairs puts you into super speed, which allows you to run at dash speed while also being able to corner. So it's pretty useful in a number of different screens. Instead of having to set up dashes and turn and whatnot, you can actually just run at the full speed. Linkorange picking up the Book of Medora, learning how to read is always a good thing. Johncarls also learning how to read, and they'll be both off to desert. So we see Johncarls actually missed the spin speed on the return there. A lot of times you'll see if runners do miss that initial spin speed, they'll kind of just take the loss and dash through it normally. I don't think there's any specific rooms or screens where a spin speed saves, an exorbitant amount of time. It's just kind of all little time saves added up throughout. Johncarls having a little trouble with the arrow guard. Linkorange having no problems. Just wants to check, make sure he's still in Hyrule, and he is. But now he'll be praying and entering into desert. It's always good to give the map a check, just every once in a while. Make sure you're in the right spot. You never want to get lost here. Linkorange picking up the key, and Johncarls right behind. There's actually a lot of different strats in this key room in order to pick it up optimally. I think they're all about the same when done well, so it's kind of up to your own preference as to what you like. Linkorange getting some nice RNG, able to dash straight through the cannonballs there. I'm not hearing as much book spam as I would like to from Johncarls. It's a little disappointing, to be honest. He also gets a nice pattern there from the cannonballs, able to dash straight through and straight down. So again, we see both runners kind of picking up specific pots in order to refill their arrows. Arrows, another very useful item for the next boss, Landmalice. which is coming up in just a short bit for both of these guys. Also picking up the Power Glove, so they can lift things, which is always nice. But we do see johncarls about 2 arrows behind in terms of count. Not a huge deal, but could come in play a little bit down the line. So Linkorange debating the spin speed there. That's actually a very risky spin speed. It saves a very small amount of time, but while you're in the spin speed state, you actually instantly will jump off any ledge. So if you go for that spin speed and fall off the ledge, you actually waste a couple of minutes trying to get all the way back up there. So we see johncarls trying it once, not getting it, and decides to just move on with his life. We see the first and second key dashes of the game. So the way that works is every 4 pixels, Link is lined up so that he'll open the door with the key and then dash, as opposed to dashing into the door and bonking. So through just about every key door, there's a setup to line yourself up onto one of those pixels and make it so you can dash straight through the door as opposed to having to stop. So Linkorange about to head into Landmalus, the second boss of the game. This is probably one of the most difficult bosses technically, as you can kind of line up your first round as to where the worms will spawn, but after that it's basically pure luck, and you just have to react to what the worms are giving you, how they hop, where they hop, all of that kind of stuff, and it's very, very difficult to get a very quick Landmalus fight. Linkorange with a pretty solid fight there. johncarls doing alright himself. Wanted to get one more arrow in that worm. Very solid fight from both runners, honestly. Couple of tricky worms based on where they were positioned to deal with, but neither of them had a lot of trouble with it, so very nicely done. Oh, Linkorange going for the cack dash. Mad swag attempt. Unfortunately does not get it. Takes a couple of hearts of damage for his trouble. But you gotta appreciate the effort. So now our runners will be attempting another glitch called, excuse me, called fake flippers. So basically what the game does is it checks on the second frame after entering water as to whether or not you have the flippers. So if you screen transition on that first frame of entering the water, the game won't check when you get to the next screen. So it thinks you have flippers the entire time. It does make things a little bit scary, as if you take a hit, you actually get put into a weird spot and you have to basically save and quit, which kills the run. But as both of our runners getting that first try, that saves about 6 to 8 seconds over the normal overworld dashing that they would have had to do. So our runner's going to talk to an old man about something for a while, I don't know. And he's going to give him a mirror. I really don't know how the exchange rate of a tour through the mountains equals a mirror, but, you know, you take what you get, I guess. Oh, Linkorange having a lot of trouble with those dead rocks. They were just in an awful position there. He's actually at 2 hearts. He's going to have to kind of make sure... Oh, he takes the death! And wow, he was just a few mere steps from being able to restart at that spot. But now he's going to have to start all the way down. Oh no, he starts over there. Okay, I actually didn't know that you respawn there if you died with the old man. So not as costly of a death as I thought it might have been at first. But that does put johncarls in the lead. This is a really nasty pattern. This screen right now, the Light World Death Mountain, I would say one of the absolute worst screens in the game. There's so many things that just move around. You have all the cabbages, you have the dead rocks getting in your way. Just, it's a real pain to get through it quickly. So johncarls into the Dark World. I'm gonna quick shout out to Blunt Bunny, and he will be heading into Harry. Yeah, I actually didn't know that you respawned there if you died with the old man. I'm guessing if he would have died after that, he would have brought back the options of where to respawn. But since you die with the old man, they must give you a different respawn point. You learn something new every day in this game. Wow, Linkorange with more trouble with dead rocks. There's nothing he can do about this rock. It's completely blocking his path. Finally able to move on. We see johncarls at 1.5 hearts going down into the basement. He's going to have to go through a tile room before he can get to the big key. I'm interested to see what he does here. You are allowed to take an intentional death as long as it simulates a mirror. So basically, if you die in a dungeon, you get sent back to the beginning of the dungeon, which is the exact same thing that happens if you use the mirror. So that's allowed in this category. So it's one that is used occasionally here in Tower of Hera, in case you happen to be low, either from Death Mountain or from all the early tricks of Tower of Hera. So I'm interested to see if johncarls goes for that option, or if he just decides to truck on through. Now at 1/2 heart, he's going to have to be careful in this room to make sure the Stalfos don't do anything tricky. And oh, that was really scary. And yeah, looks like he's just going to take the intentional death here, simulate the mirror. Obviously, that's a little bit slower than just using the mirror, but it is going to give him some health back. So it looked like Linkorange was setting up for a 3-input frame-perfect trick. Or maybe he's just messing around here with the boomerang, I'm not sure. But you can actually throw your... Oh, there it is. You can throw your boomerang and dash and land on the peg spot. Looks like he just missed the spot on the pegs to give him the invincibility frames throughout the tiles, but it does save him a little bit of time by having the pegs already set up how he wants. It looks like johncarls going to opt to not hit the safety switch and just head straight up into the petting zoo. So we see there the time difference there. That mirror just kind of instantly sends you right back, whereas dying, you have to wait for the animation and all that kind of stuff. So johncarls is using a nice little bomb boost to grab the Moon Pearl, and he'll be heading up to Moldorm. Linkorange with only 2 hearts decides to hit the safety switch, not a bad option. Moldorm, another boss, you kind of have to just react to what he gives you. There is a little bit of sense to his patterns, but there's a lot of randomness as well, so you kind of just have to look at what he's giving you and react accordingly. And a very nice fight there from johncarls. Linkorange at 1 heart, but he is going to have all these pots full of hearts at the end of this room, so he should be just fine. And yeah, he's going to refill his health a bit and head up to Moldorm himself. There are some slight sequence breaks in NMG, and it kind of depends on how you define a sequence break. As they do, you will do the Dark World dungeons not in the numbered order, but for the most part, it's pretty much just playing the game really well. There's no crazy skips or anything like that that you'll see. Hence the name No Major Glitches. So solid Moldorm there from Linkorange. It's going to be a little bit behind, but not too far. Dark World is definitely where this run kicks things up a notch, so any really early lead in Light World can be evaporated very quickly in this game. So we see johncarls setting up for something called Tree Rupees. He pulls on that tree in order to give himself some sets of 5 rupees, and now he's going to try and kill 4 enemies without taking any damage. And what that'll do is on the next tree that he pulls that gives rupees, it'll give him red rupees. And that'll give him enough rupees in order to open up the Palace of Darkness. You need 110 rupees in order to pay off Kiki enough to open it up. So very important here, early, that you kind of set yourself up to get these rupees correctly. Yeah, most of the major sequence breaks are not allowed in this category as they're classified as a major glitch. This game is very, very broken if you want to open it up to, allowing anything. I didn't quite see the Master Sword grab for johncarls, but it was a 24 something, so not too shabby. Linkorange looking at about a 25-20x, so not too shabby either. 25-22 for Linkorange, so not too far behind here. This could actually all get evened up by one RNG boss that's coming up. You see johncarls grabbing the mushroom. He'll be using that later, more than likely, to pick up the powder. Probably the most common safety in the run is the powder. I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get there. You see johncarls successfully doing 3 rupees, so he pulls and gets enough money to open up Palace of Darkness. I believe Linkorange was doing just fine in terms of 3 rupees himself. I didn't see him get hit, so he should be just fine for that. We see Linkorange opting not to pick up the mushroom, so he won't be going for powder strats. Does save him a little bit of time, but obviously is a little more risky. He also gets a successful 3 rupees, so no problems there from either runner. And we see johncarls starting off into Hyrule Castle, probably one of my low-key favorite dungeons. I kind of didn't think too much about it when I first started running the game, but once you see all the strats that are in all these rooms, as most of them involve killing either all the enemies or certain enemies in the room in order to progress, there's actually a lot of depth in combat, which you don't see as much in a lot of other dungeons. So it's a really cool dungeon to do, really cool dungeon to see done well. I'm not exactly sure on the seeding times. I don't know if we have a pacement for that anywhere. I think we do somewhere. I'd have to look for it. But I believe Linkorange is the higher seed in this matchup. So we've got what you could call a little bit of an upset brewing, but like I said, very early in the race. There's definitely tons of game left to be played. Okay, so we got a best group time of 1:37.02 for johncarls. Let's see what Linkorange is here. Link 1:27. So yeah, it's a little bit of an upset brewing early on here. That's a great question, Linkor. I'm actually not sure how crazy the game is on the GBA. It's actually the first version I played of the game. Okay, I guess it's not. So there you go. There's your answer. Shoutouts to Peasy. Love the strat in the Ring of Pots there. You throw your boomerang just at the right time to pick up not only the key, but the 5 arrows in the pot next to it, and move on. Really, just like I said, a lot of these rooms just have a ton of cool strats in them that you don't see too many other places, just because combat isn't quite the focus in a lot of other dungeons. So we see johncarls moving on to Aghanim. As I mentioned before, this race could even up just based on how Aghanim decides to treat you. So how Aghanim works is he'll throw one normal lightning ball, or one normal ball attack at you. Then he'll throw 3 attacks that can either be a normal ball that you can reflect back at him, or a blue ball that you can't do anything with. And then after those 4, he will shoot out a ball of lightning that you have to just dodge. So based on how much of a troll Aghanim decides to be, you can lose actually a lot of time on this boss. Every extra shot is an extra 6 seconds. So we see johncarls with 1 blue ball so far, so that's basically an extra 6 seconds he lost for no reason. We see a nice little Helpasaur King description there as well. Linkorange making sure he's still in Hyrule Castle, just wants to make sure he's fighting the right Aghanim. It's a good call. You see 1 blue ball for Linkorange. And a second one there from johncarls. Second one for Linkorange as well. Ooh, and a third for johncarls. So, unfortunately, he does have to sit out another lightning phase, but that will be the last one that he has to deal with. So yeah, 3 blue balls is the most common because of how probabilities work. Somebody that's really smart at math could tell you how that all works out, but all I know is that 3 is the most common. Unless you're Scribo, in which case 15 is the most common. So I think that's a 3rd blue ball for Linkorange. And a 4th, so worse luck here for Linkorange than johncarls. He'll get 1 normal shot here, then he'll basically have to win 1 out of 3 coin flips in order to avoid another lightning. Alright, so just 4 for Linkorange, so not a huge amount of time lost compared to johncarls. And John has just finished talking to Sahasrahla, and he's moving on to Palace of Darkness. Not a lot going on here, just making sure you have enough rupees to pay off Kiki. There is like a 5th backup if you don't have enough rupees at this point, but both of our runners are doing just fine on money, so they won't have to worry about that. So yeah, Seaward 30-50 sword up for johncarls, look like a 31-29 for Linkorange, so about a 39-40 second lead here for johncarls. So the beginning of Palace of Darkness is kind of an interesting dungeon. It's the first dungeon that kind of starts to sprawl out a little bit, and there's a lot of small keys that lead to more small keys. But we'll actually see a lot of grabbing a small key, mirroring out, going to another spot, opening up a door, grabbing another small key, mirroring back. It's a lot of back and forth early on. But there's actually one nice benefit to that, is that every time you mirror, every drop in pots resets in dungeons, so our runners will actually be using this route in order to pick up a bunch of bombs. Bombs, another important thing to have plenty of throughout the run, is to use them for bomb bumps and opening up caves, different stuff like that. So we'll kind of be restocking up on bombs here, and hopefully getting enough to carry them for a while throughout the run. I realize I accidentally missaid bomb jump as bomb bump, but I kind of like bomb bump better. I think I'm going to stick with it. I think I'm going to stick with bomb bump. It's going to be the new hot thing. You heard it here first. Tell your friends. So johncarls is going to be going into what is called the Hammer Yump. It's a trick that is double pixel perfect. He's going to have to align a bomb on the right Y pixel and align Link on the right Y pixel in order to essentially clip into this railing and skip past a good little section of this dungeon. He's using a lot of pause buffers to make sure everything's lined up, but he gets it just nicely. And that saves about 40 seconds depending on how much you have to buffer. So definitely a trick that's well worth it to learn. The old hammer bump. Oh my gosh. See, I could have had it locked up. Good old hammer bump. I played myself. So I see a heart drop from the mini Helmosaur there for Linkorange. I didn't see what johncarls got. It's actually slightly important what their drops are from those guys, as they share a prize pack with an enemy that we're going to see about 40 minutes later into the run, which would be a little different. So nice bomb bump there from Linkorange. And johncarls moving on to basically the second half of the Palace of Darkness. That is correct, Beef Curry. They will be using the same route, so you'll be able to kind of tell who's ahead of who based on who's further along. I don't believe they'll have any route deviations. At least optimally, they won't have any route deviations. So John using his last arrow there on that second Mimic, but does get a nice 5-arrow drop. So a little low on arrows, but he should be okay for the time being. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we will have a slight detour for John Carls, as he will be picking up powder. So that'll be really the only difference we'll see. So both of our runners going to be moving to the basement with full health. It actually does save a little bit of time. As you see, John Carls can use his sword beams to hit those pegs, whereas normally you'd have to menu to something else, and then menu back to the hammer for the next part of the run. John Carls having a little bit of a turtle party here. Kind of messed up the initial strat that he wanted to do, and is having to navigate this, but takes 1 heart of damage. Honestly, if things don't go exactly how you want them to go in that room and you only take 1 heart of damage, I think you're pretty okay with that in the long run. Yeah, Link actually missed an arrow on the statue, but had a second one in reserve. So both of our runners having a little bit of problems with arrows early on, but nothing that's going to completely trip them up. So we see John Carls on the Helmosaur King now. 17 hits with the hammer to break off his mask. I don't know why they picked 17. It makes no sense to me either. When it maybe has like 50 health and the hammer does 3 damage, I don't know. But John's at 2 hearts here, and he's getting a really nasty pattern. Oh, takes the death. That was just a really disgusting pattern from Helmosaur. When he does the tail whip and the balls at the same time, it's just really hard to deal with. Linkorange looked like he was trying to delay to despawn those fireballs, but goes a little too early. Also having a little trouble in the second phase, but does get through it. So Linkorange is going to be in a pretty solid lead coming out of Palace of Darkness. Unfortunately for John Carls, he's going to basically have to redo the entire second half of the dungeon. There isn't really anything he can do to kind of alleviate that. He's actually going to have a little bit of trouble in this next room, as he is going to have to deal with the mimics with only 2 arrows. It's going to put John Carls in a hole, but definitely not the end of the race. Any death can really just completely tilt this back. Oh, nice 10 arrow drop for John Carls there. You'd like to see that happen. Yeah, this run can kill you at any point, even the last boss fight. Even no matter how experienced you are at this game, even you can get run into trouble really anywhere in this race. Probably one of the reasons this tournament has been so interesting and so fun to watch is that this game is run at a knife's edge. Basically, anything can instantly kill your run, so it's always exciting even to the end. So Linkorange using a trick here called item dashing, which is by using an item and dashing at the same frame. Really clever trick name, I know. You can actually, on Japanese 1.0, do both at the same time. So you can actually hammer 3 of those pegs in rapid succession. Probably one of the most fun tricks to do in the game is item dashing. You can do it with just about any item, and you have a lot of different results. I'm personally a fan of shovel dashing myself, but I know there's some cane dashing fans out there, there's some bow dashing fans out there. John Carls making his way through Helmosaur King, second try, easy peasy. And we see Linkorange going to pick up the flute. So this is kind of where the speedrun, third try dig, let's go. This is kind of where the speedrun deviates from a normal playthrough. So the game will tell you, hey, there's these 6 other dungeons and they're numbered 2 through 7. Okay, great, that's awesome. But our runners are actually going to be going to dungeon number 4 first. And the reason for that is that gives them the Titan's Mitts, which allows them to pick up the strongest sword that they'll get in the run, the Tempered Sword. And getting that faster, obviously, speeds up everything else in the game. It also, through the routing, allows you to pick up the flute pretty quickly, so you can get through the overworld a lot faster as well. So just overall, much, much faster to go straight to Thieves' Town after Palace of Darkness. So we see after picking up the flute, Linkorange is heading straight to the Dark World Warp to head into Thieves Town. We'll see John Carls take a slight detour here, pick up the powder, which is a safety that will turn any anti-fairies or bunny beams into regular fairies. So very nice if you need a little boost of health, as just about every dungeon has a spot where there's an anti-fairy or bunny beam that you can use to your advantage to refill your health should you need it. We've got people talking anime in the chat. I don't know how to speak anime, so sorry, but good luck. So Link moving into Thieves Town, also somehow known as Gargoyle's Hideout, or Gargoyle's Domain. I don't know why it's called that, but not a lot to do in these first few rooms. You kind of just make your way through the maze and get to the big chest, and then move on with your life into the second half of the dungeon. So the reason they don't go to Skull Woods is that you can get through Skull Woods faster with the Tempered Sword. And you need to beat Thieves Town. Well, you need to get the Titan's Mitts from Thieves Town in order to get to the Tempered Sword. So that's why Thieves Town is opted in instead of Skull Woods here. Let's see if Linkorange is able to pick up the God Pixel. Looks like he's a little bit off to the left. This is, I don't know how you want to call it, nicely named the Hellway. One of the really trickiest rooms to get through optimally, as it's pixel perfect, and you also have to rely on enemies not giving you a bad time. So neither of those ever happen, so you kind of just have to hope that the Patrick stars don't give you too much trouble. Aptly named, that's probably the best word for it, thank you. So Linkorange bombing a ceiling because he enjoys destruction, I guess. And he'll be headed down to the basement of Thieves Town. John Carls has picked up his powder, and so now he'll be heading into Thieves Town. Linko gonna rescue this very nice maiden who is definitely on our side from jail, and take her on a nice little stroll throughout the Thieves Town. I don't know if a dungeon is the best place for a first date, but I'm not one to judge. I guess showing a girl how much you can lift is pretty cool. That should work out. So now they're going to have a nice sunlit picnic. And, oh, you see a little bit of LSD blind here from Linko. Nice little trick. I'm not sure exactly how you trigger it, but there is a way to kind of mess with the colors of this room. It doesn't save any time, just looks fancy. But one nice thing about blind... Oh, as we see, Linko down to a half a heart, but gets through the fight. One of the nice things about blind is that it's a pretty scripted fight. If you do the same thing every time, you won't have to worry about anything, really. It goes completely normal, but if you do get off script, it can get a little tricky. But Linko surviving, giving a quick shout-out to Sankart, and John Carls at 1 heart, also giving a shout-out to Sankart. Opts not to collect the anti-fairy in that room. I'm a little surprised on that. Thought he might go there, but there is a bunny beam a little bit later on that I'm guessing he'll pick up. Oh, you just hit select? I thought there was an item you had to use or something like that. Well, there you go. Just hit select, and you get a fancy little blind fight. John Carls has his mission down. He went to the key first before the girl. It's an interesting strat there to, you know, completely just ignore the woman, but John Carls is his own man. So Linko bombing a hut there, picking up 300 rupees. He's going to be picking up 300 rupees from another house in the village of Outcasts very shortly. That's kind of the last of the rupee routing throughout the run. You need 500 rupees in order to purchase the flippers from King Zora. And while that sounds like a lot, it's actually the easier of the two kind of rupee checks to hit in the game. So, also he'll be picking up the Tempered Sword, as I mentioned earlier. It's kind of the whole reason we go to Thieves Town right away as soon as we can, is to get this Tempered Sword as quickly as possible. Jackal's not quite getting that second poke that he wanted there, so he's a little off script. Oh, and takes a hit from the head and takes a death. This is going to get a little tricky now, because unfortunately, Blind's going to be in a different spot to start this fight when he gets there, as well as John himself. And Blind actually starts really, really high when you come into the fight the second time. So this is going to be a little interesting for John Carls to see how he navigates this. We see Linko grabbing the Tempered Sword, warping back. And he'll be picking up 300 more rupees in this next room and heading on into Skull Woods. Linko with the fence dash for the fans. Very nice. I've heard that that trick actually saves 6 years. So very nice time save there for Linko. John handling this blind round too pretty well. Oh, he takes a couple hits now. I'm cursing him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to. John, I'm sorry. I'll take the heat on that one, John. You hate to see a commentator curse like that happen. Linko heading into Skull Woods. Skull Woods is probably one of the shortest dungeons in terms of how the game kind of wants you or intends you to go through it, and how a speedrun has gone through it. And it's not because of any major sequence breaks or anything like that. It's just because Skull Woods likes to give you a key and have you go into another room with another key, which means you really don't progress at all. So if you kind of know how to get through this dungeon, it actually saves a ton of time. As you see, you go kind of straight into that second or third entrance to pick up the big key, and then head back in order to use the big key right away. So using another bomb bump here. Oh, Linkorange actually walks a little too far and falls into the pit. John Carls with 1 heart left does get through blind. And now Linko picked up the fire rod, and he'll be kind of back on his way, making sure just real quick he's still in Skull Dungeon, which he is. So that's good. Still in the right dungeon. That's always what you like to see. So Linko had about 5 hearts as he moves into the second part of Skull Dungeon. Not too shabby. Mothula is a boss that you're kind of based on what Mothula throws at you as to how well you can do the fight. But if you keep your wits about you, it's usually not one you have to worry about dying to. Nice little room there to kind of sneak past a lot of those mummies and light all the torches really fast. Using a strat there to bump the mummy into the spike, which does more damage to it than just a normal sword slash. And that technique actually comes into play here in the Mothula fight. So normally when you hit an enemy into a spike, it does gold sword damage or 4 damage. But oh wow, really? I can't even talk about the fight. Linko's already done with it. So you got a really nice pattern there. So normally hitting an enemy into spikes does gold sword damage, but they coded Mothula differently in order to kind of make the fight a little trickier, so that Mothula, any damage that Mothula gets hit with on spikes gets negated. So anytime you hit Mothula into a spike, it doesn't do any damage. So you kind of have to wait for Mothula to come down and let you swing into him. And as we saw there, Mothula pretty kind to Linko, coming down right away, letting Linko just slash 4 times real quick and kill Mothula. So very nicely done there. John Carls saving the frog and picking up his tempered sword in the meanwhile. And we'll see Linko moving on here, doing a little bit of shopping, a little bit of picking up some items here and there before he heads into the next dungeon. I've seen slightly faster Mothula fights, but not by much. Like that's honestly one of the best things you can hope for. John Carls has left without a sword, and I don't think he knows that he is left without a sword just yet. And I'm hoping he finds out sooner rather than later that he does not have a sword. He's still out there. He's figured it out. He's figured out that he does not have a sword. So he's going to head back to the swordsmiths, pick up that tempered sword he dropped off with him, and continue on his way. Linko, in the meanwhile, going to be heading up and grabbing Quake, grabbing the flippers as well before heading into Ice Palace. I mean, he wasn't going to get that far before realizing. I was hoping at least after 2 or 3 bounces off of a bush he would realize it. I think he did. Yeah, he would have been able to still move until that curtain. Although he probably would have figured out in the mummy room that he can't slash the jellies. That probably would have been his first kind of real indication that, oh, hey, I don't have a sword right now. So Linko doing a little bit of a bonk before picking up Quake. While that is swaggy as heck, it also sets up a quick warp, which is something I haven't talked about just yet. So if you're at a certain pixel position, your warps are actually, I think, 32 frames faster or something like that. It's an amount, 23. There's numbers, and it's a little bit faster, and it's cool. So there's actually quite a few of those setups. Again, kind of like the key dashing, a lot of setups in order to get those little time saves. John Carls grabbing his big key and heading to the next part of Skull Dungeon, while Linko picks up the flippers. Finger webs for a mere 500 rupees. What a racket. "34 frames, thank you." That's all you have to do, is just let somebody smarter in the chat tell you exactly what the number is. Yes. Unlike, I know there's a couple of rando people in here, you are allowed to view the restream since this is, you can't really gain any advantage from it. So Linko might have an idea that he's ahead, John Carls. I think at this point, probably thinking he's behind after the 2 deaths at blind. So we'll see if that has any effect on their strategies. It might not. It'll be interesting to see if they go for anything a little crazier, if they maybe Linko plays it a little safe, knowing he's in the lead right now. Although I think, knowing these guys, they're probably just going to go all out all the time. Probably won't have anything too crazy changing of their strats. It's the way they are, I guess. Yeah, Scrivo brings up a really good point. Sometimes doing the strats you're comfortable with, even if they're a little riskier, are better, as it's just kind of what you're comfortable with. So pretty nice Mothula fight there from John Carls. Linko with a nice little strat there to kill both the Stalfos Knights with 1 bomb. It's a fun little strat, and he'll be setting up for the Ice Palace Bomb Bump. I'm gonna sell Bomb Bump. It's gonna happen. So what he's gonna do here is line himself up on a certain pixel, drop a bomb, line himself up on another pixel, and use the bomb's damage boost to shoot him across that gap, and that actually saves just a crazy amount of time in terms of how the game wants you to do this dungeon. You kind of do 3 different trips around the entire thing in order to get where you need to go, but that one bomb jump saves you most of that hassle, so very, very useful trick. Linko using his hammer there in order to control his movement through the slippery, lonely fire bar room. So Linko heading into the cold stair fight. Probably one of the scarier fights for a new runner. At least it was scary for me, and I'm a new runner, so I'm just going to extrapolate that to all new runners. But you actually need to hit every single shot with your fire rod here, so you have just enough magic to do it. And then you really want to try and do your best to keep these puffs contained. And Linko does an absolutely fantastic job. Textbook cold stair fight there. You'll love to see that happen. And he is out of Ice Palace. Johncarls, in the meanwhile, on his way to pick up Quake and the Flippers, and he'll be racing into Ice Palace himself. Yeah, that was a really interesting statue strat from Linko. I saw that as well. I'm not sure if that's better or worse, but it looked different, so that's neat. It's one of the fun things about not knowing anything is you get to see a different strat and you go, I don't know if that's faster, or if they just want to do that, or I don't know what's going on. So Linko about to head into Swamp now. Swamp Palace is a dungeon, as I mentioned earlier, that's number 2 on the kind of map. So we're actually where we had a few dungeons we were a bit underpowered or a little bit lower than what the game kind of expected us to be at. We're actually quite overpowered when we come into Swamp Palace. You have a lot more hearts. You have the Tempered Sword. It's very easy to get through this dungeon at a decent pace, but this is kind of a dungeon. A lot of people call it the Dungeon of 1,000 Paper Cuts, where you might not lose any major time anywhere, but since there's so many enemies, so many things to dodge around, it's really easy to lose a bunch of little amounts of time everywhere. We see another little glitch there, using the mirror in a room where the mirror doesn't do anything. You kind of get a little error noise from the game, and in Japanese 1.0 you can actually cancel out a push block by using that, so a little bit of time saved there as you can dash to the room on the second time through, and you only have to push one block as opposed to a few to get back to the switch. Nice little hammer dash there from Linko to get to that pot. I mean, I've seen people die in Swamp Palace. I'm not going to say there's no way to die in Swamp Palace, because it has happened. I may have died in Swamp Palace once, but probably not. But it can happen. It's just, especially for runners of these calibers, it's very, very unlikely to happen. But you can see a big shift in time based on how clean somebody's movement is through it. So, just like anywhere else in the run, still lots to gain or lose in every dash, or every spot. Don't read chat while trying to complete a thought. It never works out for you. Johncarls setting up for the Ice Palace bomb jump. It's a little hard to see the pixels on his screen, but he gets it nice and easily. I believe Linko hit the switch to drop the pegs again. Yes, he did. He's got the blue up there, so... It's kind of the one big mistake you can make in Swamp Palace is not hitting that switch before leaving that room, and then when you try to get to the boss key, you have to go all the way back to swap the pegs to the right way. It's the one kind of troll that the game puts in this dungeon. I was trying to be generous. I mean, you could forget the boss key and then try to open up the big chest, but who would do something like that? Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. Good times. We've got a deal trying to be made in chat. John Carl's asking Linko to die to Vitreous for a Chipotle. I don't know if deals are allowed in the tournament rules, but I'm interested if it is. Linko picking up the hookshot now. Hookshot's a really fun item to use. There's a couple of cool glitches you can do with it and stuff like that. A lot of tech with the hookshot. Fortunately, it's picked up a little bit late in the run, so you don't see maybe as much as you could with it. But you'll still see quite a few interesting tricks there. You'll see one right there. Linko actually doing a hook dash, which kind of pushes him forward so he can grab that that skull pot right away. A lot of just little tiny tricks you can do with the hookshot. I think it's definitely a lot of players' favorite items. I think it's my favorite item, and a lot of other players would agree with me there. Meanwhile, solid little cold surf right there from John Carls. So he's going to be picking up the Ice Rod now, which is an item you need to beat Turtle Rock. And then I believe he'll be heading into Swamp after that. I know John has a slightly different route than a lot of other runners. It doesn't really matter too much when you pick up the Ice Rod. As you whistle to get there, you whistle to wherever you're going next. So it's kind of just up to player preference, I would say, more than anything, as to when you want to pick that up. You definitely don't want to forget it, though. We see Linko making sure that he's trying to do Zero Cycle Argus in Swamp Palace, which is a good call. And looks like he just missed the Zero Cycle. He had to wait for the swoop, but very solid Argus fight nonetheless. Okay, John Carl's also picking up Ether, I guess, before heading over to Swamp, so... Not a bad idea. Sorry, I believe I talked with him about this. This gives him a lot higher chance of going into Mire with full hearts, which is something I'll talk about in just a second here, something that's kind of nice to have. So by doing this kind of grabbing of items before Swamp as opposed to before Mire, gives him a much better shot of having full hearts heading into Mire. Sorry, I believe we discussed this during his last race, so... So now Linko going to pick up Ether. He does need this before moving on, as the next dungeon, Misery Mire, requires you to have Ether to get in. We also see some really fancy strats here by using the hook shot to do a super speed dash. Allows you to keep your sword out as well, give you even more speed up those stairs. We see the bird whisking Linko away over to spot number 8. So looks like he's going to pick up the Ice Rod before heading into Mire as well. Again, this is kind of up to player preference, so I guess Linko wants to roll into Mire with the Ice Rod, just as a sign of dominance. Yeah, it looks like he will be entering Mire with full HP, so that's good. As long as he doesn't have any problems in this last room before getting in there, he'll be just fine. Imagine liking something, but not quite liking something very similar. The nerve. We'll see if Linko goes for the bird toss, which I'm being told is a meme. I'm being told the deeper meme is to carry the bird into Mire. We'll see what Linko opts to do here. He's checking the map, making sure he's in the Dark World before he picks up the bird, and does carry the bird into Mire. So here we see the reason why having that full health and that sword beams is really important. Mire 2, very tricky room to do optimally, and Linko does it really quickly before I can really even describe what's going on. There's Wizrobes that will spawn and despawn. You kind of want to take them out in one cycle, as well as deal with the Popos in the room as well. So having the Fire Rod and your sword beams available to you to hit enemies at a distance makes it very quickly. So very nice room there from Linko. The map buffer into bird carry. How deep is this meme going to go before the end of the tournament? What are we going to see people doing to this poor bird before Misery Mire? It didn't even do anything wrong, except try to hit you. There was that one part of it, but other than that, it did nothing wrong. Linko having a little bit of trouble there, trying to use a glitch that's actually present in all versions of the game, where you can actually use an item as you're pushing a block. But does get all 4 torches lit at the same time, so that's good. You get to sit in this cutscene where apparently the wall in the next room is moving over, even though you see nothing, and really don't react to it at all. You just kind of are there for a while. Just chilling, okay, it's over. And I'm going to be dashing into this hole, picking up the boss key of Mire. You know, same johncarls. I think we might have seen johncarls not pick up the boss key. Did that happen? I said that might have been a typo for 20 minutes, but it seems like it is 20 minutes. Did we see johncarls turn on a little too early here in Swamp? I actually did miss it. As I say, I think he revisited somewhere there. I'd have to check the tape, or maybe we'll ask him after the race exactly what he did there, because I was looking over that beautiful, beautiful cutscene on Linko's screen. Didn't hit the switch. Remember that thing that I mentioned, where hitting the switch is something you want to do? Yeah, you hate to see that happen. Linko grabbing a couple of hearts there. He's at pretty solid health. With how his boss fights are going, I'm sure he's not going to have any problems with Vitreous coming up, but always nice to have enough. johncarls with his custom hookshot strat there, which confuses and baffles millions. This is the first of the bracket stage matches for anybody who is joining the stream. So we have moved out of groups. All of the scrubs are gone. Now all the real players are still going. And this is single elimination, so it is win or go home from here on out. Until I think the semifinals? It's either the semifinals or the grand finals, we're going best of 3. But for the next few rounds, it is win or go home. John grabbing a couple hearts in the refill room, just to make sure he's got plenty of health for Argus as Link moves into Vitreous. Really nice fight there, using the iframes from the goop to basically negate taking any damage from the eyeballs, which the eyeballs do a lot more damage than the goop does, so takes out all the eyeballs really quickly. Nice 8 arrows, +1 for the fans onto the main eye, and Vitreous is down. Meanwhile, johncarls finishing off Argus, nice and easy. Yeah, that was. I think he only took basically the 4 quote-unquote required damage you need to take in a perfect Vitreous fight. So really, really good mire from Linko there. So I believe Linko has everything he needs at this point. No shopping left over. Yeah, he's going to head straight to Death Mountain and up to Turtle Rock. The last Crystal Dungeon, having even more fun with dead rocks. He does actually get past that one, thankfully. Death Mountain has been quite mean to him. Goes for the Waffle House drive-thru, but does have to use 1 hookshot there. So I think that's the Waffle House take and eat, drive and take. The thing where you drive up and then the waitress brings you the waffles to your car instead of driving up and ordering. I think Outback has that. Meanwhile, we see johncarls heading straight into Mire as he also has everything he needs at this point. Is it Park and Eat? I don't know what it is. They have a fancy name for it. I'm definitely not a marketing director. Definitely been outplayed by the marketing directors of Outback Steakhouse. the toaster hallway. There we go. That's what it's called from now. We got bomb bumps. We got toaster hallway. We're setting trends this race. Oh, Ego Avenue. I like that too. It's like a car hop, except you've already ordered before you get there. You literally just park your car and you're like, here's who I am. And they go, oh, here's food that you've already paid for. It's really revolutionary stuff. Linko making sure that the first pit in Turtle Rock is indeed a pit, and it is. And he'll be heading over now. johncarls is having a little more trouble in Mire too, but does get through it. See a nice hook shot strat there to hook onto the torch and basically get yourself off of the raft that the Cane of Samaria makes for you. And using some iframes and the hookshot iframes in order to take only 1 damage from the roller, which is very nice. This is kind of where the game decides, hey, we hate you. You should have a lot better equipment than this. So we're going to make sure everything does a lot of damage. So any damage you take here in Turtle Rock is going to be very detrimental. A lot of things do 4 hearts of damage, or 2 at the very least. And we see Linko picking up a fairy. That's actually been set up basically from the start of the run. Different enemies are in different prize packs, which means as you kill them, they kind of cycle through a list of drops that they'll give you. So by managing how he killed enemies earlier in the game, that sets it up so that there's a fairy from one of the Pokies, either earlier, basically as early as you can in Turtle Rock. So Linko back up to full health with that prize pack manipulation. So oh, johncarls did skip powder, actually. Okay, I missed that. I thought he picked it up after getting the flute. If you've ever wondered why you usually have 2 casters, this is why. Scrivo bringing up an excellent point. We have no tracker. We can't know whether or not he has powder. Unbelievable. Linko, in the meanwhile, picking up the big key in Turtle Rock, heading to the basement. Linko with a nice little movement there to deal with that Poke Room RNG. There's basically 16 different RNG luck-based movements you can get from those guys, and each of them kind of has their own little strat. So nicely observed there from Linko to see the kind of best option and do it quickly. So yeah, John without powder is going to be in a little bit of trickiness here, as he does only have 5 hearts. But still has enough to get through Vitreous, potentially. Meanwhile, we see Linko heading towards Laser Bridge. A very specific lineup in order to dash through and not get hit by that laser. It looks like magic, and that's because it is. And just one more room before a nice little Cane of Samaria ride to Trinex. John trying to avoid the anti-fairy there, but does get poked. He's going in with 4 hearts. He's going to have to kind of audible here on the Vitreous fight. Opting to kind of get as deep as he can, and doesn't get out in time and does take the death. Meanwhile, Linko working his way through Trinex. Looks like a pretty solid first phase there. Lining up for the second phase here, and very nice kill there. Linko having a really solid run. You hate to see that death on Vitreous. You just hate to see it happen. Looks like johncarls rooting around for some health, maybe some magic as well. There is a big magic pot that he can pick up pretty closely here, but I think he's trying to grab some extra health before heading back down into Mire Basement. I see people in chat knocking the Slap Chop. I gotta say, Slap Chop, pretty solid product. I've used it myself, it works quite well. Dicing onions, not a problem anymore. John not picking up the extra magic before heading down into Mire Basement. I'm not sure if he has enough for what he needs right now. I don't know exactly how much Cane of Samaria requires. That's a very interesting question, Mike. We'll see if johncarls decides to buy himself Chipotle after the run, as that was the deal. I should have died to Vitreous. Could have got some free Chipotle. See, Swerve understands me. Oh, that's right, there's a little bit of magic there. Okay. Oh, and I guess John did... Oh, that's right, John did not need to use the Cane of Samaria in that second room, as the pegs were already lined up how he wanted them to be. So, good heads-up move there from John to understand the situation. He's got plenty of health here, moving into Vitreous round 2. Gets 2 spins in, then decides to back out. Use just normal slashes and arrows. He's got a lot of arrows right now, so this is a perfectly valid strat for him to use. And looks like he'll be out of Vitreous this time. So Linko moving into Ganon's Tower in the meanwhile. Ganon's Tower, really cool dungeon. Requires basically using every trick in the book in order to move through it quickly. So it's really, really fun to do well, really fun to watch somebody do it well, so it's just a treat of a dungeon. We see Linko trying to line up there to bonk and actually skip past that. Oh, he's picking up the arrows. I want to say that, yeah, that is actually intentional due to his arrow count. You need 18 arrows to take out the Ice Armos, which are coming up very shortly, so... Linko probably opting to pick those up. I think there's another 5 in this room coming up, but I'm not sure which is faster. He might be picking up all of them, I'm not sure. No, looks like he's just gonna go with that. You gotta pick up, or try to pick up the chest. Oh, there's 10 arrows in that chest. You learn something new every day. So now Linko with plenty of arrows for Ice Armos here. Nice little lineup there. Oh, it does take a hit, so this is going to get a little sketchy now. If the Armos fight was precise as it was, having to do it while on ice is even twice as nice. I don't know any words that rhyme with ice past that. Linko kind of scrambling here. And it's a good thing he got all those arrows because he needed every last one to get through Ice Armos. So he's picking up the big key, gonna stop and pick up those 10 arrows in that chest behind him, as he'll need those for a room coming up. And now he's heading up into the top half of Ganon's Tower. I mean, the only one I could think of was Head Lice, and I didn't want to bring up Head Lice, so... But I already have. Exactly 0 arrows, just perfect consumption there. You don't want to use too many arrows, you know, they're not all that common around Hyrule. Wasting arrows, you hate to see that happen. I think, it's a little bit of a joke, but that was honestly probably Linko's only bad boss fight that I can recall throughout this run. His boss fights have been on point. So now Linko moving through the Gauntlet, and he's actually already down to half a heart. This is going to be really scary. The Gauntlet, a series of rooms where you have to kill the enemies to move on, and you've got conveyor belts, you've got ice, you've got Beamos, you've got everything you could possibly hate in this game, all in one little package. So we'll see how Linko makes his way through. That blue guy is trolling the heck out of him. Whips out the fire rod for good measure. And very nice recovery there to get through that with basically half a heart the entire time. He picked up 1 heart in the second room, but didn't take any damage afterwards. And 2-cycle land mode 2, you can, with good sword spinning and solid fire rod management, you actually get that in 1 cycle, but it gets it in 2. Linko denying the health, saying he doesn't even need it. The stones on this man. Ooh, John getting a little trolled by the chain chomps there. Moved right as he was going to push the block. He's going to have to do a little bit of navigating here to try and get out of here. But it looks like he's going to escape taking only 1 hit. When things don't go exactly perfectly in chain chomp room, getting out with 1 hit is basically what you want. Linko a little low on magic here, so he's going to set up to do, I think, just torches on just using the normal lantern on these torches. Normally you can use a fire rod for that last one, but when your magic is low like this, you have to make do. Skipping another safety heart, picking up that full magic drop, waiting just a little bit to make sure he doesn't accidentally unload the 6th floor of Ganon's Tower, which is something you don't want to do. Johncarls getting his fairy drop there, and is moving on to grab the boss key. We see Linko picking up a heart. You know, at this point, I expected better from him. Thought he was just going to try and go through the rest of the game with half a heart. But I guess he decided he needed one more. And now Linko going to be heading into Aghanim 2, which is much like the Aghanim 1 fight, except Aghanim has spawned 2 clones of himself. Luckily, the clones always fire shots that you can reflect back at Aghanim, so most players will kind of focus more on lining those shots up and just hoping Aghanim throws a normal shot that they can reflect back towards him. So Linko getting 2 on the first, none on the second. I didn't really like the pattern there. This looks like a pretty good lineup here. Oh, gets a second blue ball from normal Aghanim, so only gets 1 hit there. And having a little bit of trouble reflecting these shots. Geometry, not his strong subject. He must be more of a geography kind of guy. He is down to half a heart, so he's maybe playing it a little safe here, not wanting to take any damage. As taking damage here would lose him quite a lot of time. They're a bit off sync now, which makes things a little awkward, as those shots are going to come in before he can even fire them back at Aghanim. Oh, and just misses that shot wide. I think he's at 1 hit left. And he does get the kill. johncarls actually bonks on Laser Bridge, sending him back. He's going to have to reline this up in order to get to the key, and he does so nicely. So there is a fairy down in the tree, just below Ganon's here. We'll see if Linko decides to go pick it up. You'll see, and he's going in with half a heart. Chat mentioning he didn't do a 1-hit KO run on Saturday, so maybe he's right at home with half a heart. So the Ganon fight at this level is pretty tricky. You need 12 slashes to move through the first 2 phases. Looks like he's going to get 2 cycles of the first phase. We'll see what he can do with the second one. With how he's going, it looks like he's not going to try and line up to get a 1 cycle here either. Just going to go for a casual 2 cycle. And oh, takes a hit from the fire bat and does take a death. The waves were too strong. Meanwhile, johncarls wrapping up Trinix. And he will be moving on to Ganon's tower as well. So Linko getting the 1 cycle on the first phase here. Looks like he's lining up okay to get a 1-in-1. Not sure if he got 12 there, but it looks like he did. So now he's in the Ganon warp phase. And there's 3. All right, 3 warps, not too bad. So basically you just gotta wait for Ganon to stop moving and then hopefully hit him with your sword as soon as possible in order to... Oh, and Linko giving Ganon a hug real quick. Thought maybe, you know, talking about your problems and hugging it out was the way to go. Ganon thought otherwise, so Linko's going to be heading down for round number 3, making sure he's going down into the pyramid. That's a good call. Don't want to be fighting the wrong Ganon right here. Linko getting, looks like another 1-in-1. So now that he's in the last phase here, Linko's going to be trying to... Oh, and he doesn't actually get the torch glitch. This is going to get a little interesting. So normally if you light that first torch before the second one goes out, the second one will stay lit through the entire fight. And that is very useful, as you need both torches lit to hit Ganon. And your window for hitting Ganon is very small in this fight. Oh, Linko actually falling. We're going to chalk that up to an intentional fall, because he wanted to do the torch glitch. And definitely not a mistake at all. I'm really not sure, but we'll see. Linko just wants to get some Ganon practice in. It's a tough fight. Yeah, this will be round number 4 for Linko. John Carl's making his way through Ganon's tower in the meanwhile. Man, those fire mat dodges are insane. John Carl's dropping into the Ice Armos fight. And very nice Ice Armos there. Kills the second one without getting the Enraged cycle. So here we see Linko did get the torch glitch this time, so now he just has to worry about that torch on the left going out. And in the meanwhile, charging up spins to hit Ganon at a very specific point during his warp, which is the only way to damage Ganon without the silver arrows. So we'll need 12 spins with the Tempered Sword in order to finish off Ganon. And he's doing quite well so far. And very nicely done there by Linko. 4th try is a charm. And it looks like Speed Racing has him at the time of 1:33.16. And the swag Fire Rod dash into the Triforce room. Very nicely done. GG to Linko. Alright, we'll get Linko in here in just a second for a little bit of a chat while John Carls makes his way through the gauntlet.
Can you hear me?
Linko, welcome and congratulations on your win.
Thank you. But blah.
Yeah, you had a little bit of trouble there with Ganon at the end. Death Mountain really had your number this run.
Yeah. So sorry for my Ganon death at the end. Yeah, the first
we were all rooting for you when you dropped in with half a heart. We all had your back. We were rooting for a clutch out.
Yeah, but at least my Ganon Tower was quite fun. Yeah, quite clutch too.
yeah, the gauntlet. We were on pins and needles the whole time. It was nice to watch that.
I must admit I was a bit scared. I regretted not taking the safety heart.
Especially after slashing it and showing it the disrespect.
But that was not a good run, but good things actually. I did a gold in Eastern Palace. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's good. I think a lot of your fights seem to go really well. Mothula, I barely had any time to even introduce the fight before it was over. Cold
Yeah,
Stone was textbook. Just Vitreous was great. A lot of really good boss fights in that run, for sure.
Yeah, for Muffle, I had good RNG, but didn't get the double hit on the bonk. Coaster was one poke dash, and Vitreous, yeah, good fight too. I'm happy with but my ice armors.
Yeah, Ice Arm was a little tricky. Had a little bit of
I
issues
actually
with it.
tried the Yuzu ice, the Yuzu strat, Yuzu Hara strat, but didn't get it unfortunately.
Well, we were glad that you picked up every single one of those arrows, as you needed all of them for that fight.
Yeah, I tried also to do a swag strat before Ice Armors, but yeah, got hit by the anti-fairy.
So we see John Carls about to head into Aghanim 2 himself. How many of those shots on Aghanim 2 were you kind of more focusing on not dying rather than kind of getting the shots in? Because it's got to be scary at half a heart to be trying to deal with all those shots flying around.
Yeah, as some people mentioned in the chat, I did an OHK run a few days ago, so I was quite used to dodge all the balls and scary fights.
Yeah, definitely coming in handy for you there.
Yeah, but yeah, when I arrived in this fight with 1 heart of heart, I didn't. It was one heart and a half actually, but I didn't take the fight with how to say. I didn't want to do it quickly, just not dying. Only that. That was the most important part. And I don't know actually if the sequence of blue balls, because in Aghanim 1, you know which blue ball which energy ball will come. Sorry, I have a bit of trouble explaining. I don't know if in the Aghanim 2 fight you have you know, like in Aghanim 1, one energy ball, then 50% chance of blue ball or energy ball in the 4 next cycles. I don't know if it works similarly for Aga 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I know that the clones will always fire energy balls. I'm not sure if that's the same thing for Aghanim himself, if he always throws an energy and then it's 50-50, or if it's always 50-50. I'm not sure on that one. John Carl's taking a detour here. I'm curious to see where he's going. He might be picking up gold sword and silver arrows. It might be what he's opting to do here, just to make sure he gets through Ganon nice and easy. Yeah, it looks like he's going for that option here.
Yeah, also when I was dying to dead rocks the first ascent of Death Mountain, I was like, no, that can't be true. Not in a tournament race, please. Guys.
Yeah, that was just like ridiculous. Those dead rocks you got. I actually didn't know. I thought you would have to go either back to the house or the sanctuary. I didn't realize that the game puts your spawn point right where you rescue the old man. That was actually a bit beneficial. It didn't cost you quite as much time.
Yeah, I learned this backup 7 quid, not 7 quid, but this backup thing recently too. And yeah, I was happy that it exists actually, because back to the sanctuary would have been painful.
Yeah, it would have been even more costly. So yeah, it looks like John Carls is picking up gold sword and silver arrows. It's going to make his Ganon fight a lot easier. I don't know what he threw in there first, but he decides that wasn't what he wanted to throw in there. Oh, he does get. Can you pick any option? I have no idea what the part-time model fairy says to you. Looks like John picked the second option both times, but he still got the silver arrows. Debating what to throw in next. Looking like he's gonna throw in the boomerang just for kicks and giggles. Could you imagine if John Carls discovered a new item that was never picked up in any 100% run, thus invalidating the entirety of the 100% leaderboard right here? Like, what if there was a new hookshot? John Carls is going to find out right now if there's a new hookshot that nobody has ever picked up before. He's done it. So John opting to roll in with the tempered sword but silver arrows. Maybe just wants to get a little bit of practice on the first couple cycles with tempered sword. Yeah, what if the long shot was in Link to the Past and we never knew until this very day? Could you even imagine, though? Oh, Parisian in chat does say it is 50-50 from second throw, so he basically does follow the same kind of cycles as Aghanim 1. It's good to know. That firebat got really close to John, but he did dodge it, so the rest of the fight should be pretty straightforward, especially with silver arrows. If Ganon would ever stop warping. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it looks like John is opting to go for the tempered sword fight kill here. Perhaps good practice as he's wrapping up this run. He just wanted the viewers at home to be aware of where the Fat Fairy was, just in case you're having a little trouble beating the game yourself. So, Linko, anything you plan on working on before your next match? I don't think... yeah, this is the first of our bracket phases, so your opponent hasn't been decided yet, but anything you're going to really hammer hard before you move on?
I want to practice until the next match, of course. Yeah, but maybe... I don't know who I will play against, but yeah, definitely he's going harder and harder, advancing in the brackets. I'm actually happy to be able to advance with this time because it will definitely not be the case anymore after, I think.
John with some celebratory torches. Debate's walking off the edge. Debate's walking off this edge. We'll see what he decides to do. And he does dash in. An official speed racing TV time of 1:44:20. We'll see if he wants to hop in here really quick for an interview. I know we do have another race at the top of the hour, so we'll see if we can have John in here for just a second before we move on. All right, and in chat he does say he'll hop in, so we'll talk with John for just a few minutes. Really want to talk to John Carls for a few hours, but you know, sometimes you just got to deal with what you get. So let's take a look and see what the next match coming up right here on this channel is.
Yo.
It's John Carls. Hello,
What's
John
going on?
Carls.
Hi.
Whew.
GG.
Some things happened there.
You completed the video game. Congratulations.
Yeah, at the end I really wanted to meme and get the red boomerang, which is why I went there.
I was hoping that you were going to find the new item that nobody had ever seen before and completely invalidate every 100% run of this
I
game
didn't
ever.
mean to get the silver arrows, so I like tried to cancel out of it, but it didn't.
Oh, I noticed you were picking the second option both times.
Like, I don't know.
I didn't realize that either. That she still gives you the silver arrows.
It's all in the moon.
I don't know what the
I
two
didn't know
options
what it said, but I wanted to go. I was just trying to meme. Honestly, like I had a okay light worlds. I was ahead of Linkorange, and I guess something weird happened while you were getting the mirror.
Just before.
You got massively deadrocked.
Oh man!
Just before getting to the mirror spot. So
I had a good lead going into Palace of Darkness. I got a really bad Helmosaur pattern. And the
the
plan,
Helmo was nasty. Yeah,
the plan all along was for me I wasn't gonna get powder. That wasn't like a change of strategy. I got the mushroom for menuing because I'm used to the menus.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And I kind of wanted to see how people reacted because I thought it would be kind of hype. But once I died to Helmosaur, it wasn't quite as hype.
Yeah, I missed
blind,
that.
and then I died to blind again, and then I died to.
Yeah,
it was a really good run. And then I didn't even get the red boomerang.
The whole point of the
I was
run.
like, how do I meme the end of this? It's already over. I couldn't think of anything. I could have gone back, I guess, and done the bird throw. That's probably what I should have done. Now that I think of it, if I could go back, I would have done the bird throw.
That's really your only regret is you didn't go back to the bird throw.
It was interesting how like I decided to move on without getting any sword. I thought that was an interesting strategy.
Yeah, I was looking. I think a couple times I looked over to see what Linko was doing, and I come back and you were in some very perilous situation.
Well, I kept
I didn't see that you didn't get the powder. Yeah,
I was like, why am I? I was like, the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, because I got the fence dash.
Yeah, and then you bounced off of the two of them. I think the first time.
Yeah, and two of them. I was like, what did I do? Why am I? And then I did it again on the way out, and I was like, okay, something's wrong here. And then with the switch in Swamp, I was like, something in my head like was thinking, I might not have switched the switch this time. Like I haven't made that mistake in like probably 2 years. So I'm really glad to be out of this tournament. I've embarrassed myself enough over the last 4 races. I am decent at this game. I have a 131. My best tournament time was a 137. So, you know, really, really solid showing by me. I'm really glad
I may have mentioned
in front of the speedrunning audience here. A couple hundred people get to watch me just play terrible every time. It's great.
I'll take the heat. I may have mentioned that really the only big mistake you can make in Swamp is to not hit that switch on the way out. That may be.
Well, it wasn't going to make a difference at that point. And like, I was thrown off from the beginning because I had this monitor issue that I was taking care of. And I guess while I was doing that, I unplugged my pedal. So my timer didn't start. So I see the chat being like, timer. So I had to like, I just put 6 minutes. I was like, this is about a 6-minute escape.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, John Carls just knows that that's
I was like, the way this is going. Yeah. You know,
but that was,
I probably should.
Lined up.
I probably should stop doing puns in chat while I'm like racing. That might be a good idea. Like I like entertaining the people. You know, that's what I stream for. Obviously, people aren't watching for the quality gameplay. You know, so I had to join in on the eye puns with Vitreous. So I actually literally put my controller down to do that. That was fun. But great job by Linkorange. Sorry that you had a rough Ganon. That looked really frustrating. You know, I mean, the window was open. I could have, done the upset, but I was much worse. My mistakes were much more serious. So, and you could have gotten free Chipotle and died to Vidi and still have won the race. But
yeah, I did not see anything from Scrivo saying that wasn't allowed. So I was totally gonna let that slide if that happened.
Absolutely. You still would have won, so I mean, I had to try and get the red boomerang. However, is the red boomerang in Ganon's Tower? Where is that thing?
No, that's the other fairy that you get upgrades for. That's how you get the red boomerang.
Another fairy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
Right.
I don't know anything about this
Crazy-
game. This is
crazy
why my
stuff.
rando match took like 4.5 hours. I don't know anything but what's in this route. So, but yeah, no, really good job by Linkorange. I'm looking forward to watching the better players move on and do the brackets. Hopefully, I'll be joining in on some commentary because that seems to be my best role in this tournament at this point.
Hey man, me too. You got to know what you're good at.
Yeah, you know, but appreciate the commentary. Hopefully, I gave you a lot of fun stuff to comment on. So just watching out for my boy Clip.
There was some interesting moments. I thank you for that.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna get set up for the next race here. As it is going at the top of the hour. I think our next commentators are ready to roll. So I'm gonna ship it off to Dude Brosick and Mutsky.
Who's the race?
Let me look here. It is Gerdo versus Aerofram. I always say his name wrong.
Awesome. Good luck to both of
But
them.
it's gonna be a good race. So stick right here for another amazing NMG race. And like I said, we do have 2 more races after that. So it's a night of NMG bracket races here on twitch.tv/speedgaming. I want to thank Linko and John for that excellent race. I want to give a big shout out to all of our tournament admins, all the people over at Speed Gaming for hosting this. This has been a blast. And I hope you guys stick around for some more awesome NMG action.
Thanks so much to Scrivo for organizing this thing. I really had fun, even as poorly as it did. So thanks so much.
Well, that was an awesome race to see. So we've got our next race coming up right here between Aerofram and Gerdo. 2 pretty competitive players we're going to be seeing right now with myself and Dude Brosick on the commentary for Yins.
Yo, how's it going? I'm excited for this. Gerdo's a really good player. Aerofram's up and coming and getting better, so this should be pretty good stuff.
Runners are getting set up with file names and whatnot. Looks like everyone's readied up in speed racing chat. So probably going to be getting underway here pretty soon. So get hyped for another race. We got 2 more races after this, I believe, tonight. So, you know, coming in hot. Yeah. I'll be on commentary again in a couple hours. So, you know, if you love it, you know, come back. And if you hate it, come back anyway. You know, deal with it. It's going to be great.
I'd do it. All right. Yeah, this is should be underway entirely. Speed racing. It's readied up. it looks like. Right, we're going to be taking off momentarily here. Alrighty, so as this match is getting underway soon, let's talk about the races. Let's take a look there. So we got Gerdo. His best tourney time is 1:26.28, which is only 4 seconds off of his PB, and I believe he's been his PB is rather recent as well. Let's take, yeah, it's actually within the past month, so not shocking that his tournament best is that close to his PB. And he is actually seeded 5th in the bracket stages right now. He has the 6th fastest time in the tournament so far, so definitely solid racer, up and coming. I don't know much of his background, so I'm not going to speculate on it, but you know, I know that he is a little bit into rando, I think. But yeah, he's definitely going to be fun to watch. We also have Arifram. Get up. His best time in the tournament so far is